Oh, what's up? Doug Cunnington here, and this is the Friday Q&A session. Welcome, everyone. I see we have O2 and Tammy on, so give me a shout if you could hear me. I tried to test things beforehand, and I think you can hear me. Cool stuff is on. This, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thanks a lot for hopping on. In fact, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Right now, we are really close. Like less than 100 new subscribers will actually get us to 10,000. So I've been just sort of excited about that. I'll talk a little bit more about that soon. We do have a couple questions that were sent in on the new community tab that is now available for Niche Site Project here on YouTube, which is very cool. For a long time, I've waited to get that little area where I could post messages. Now, not a lot of people ask questions, so I was all excited yesterday, and I asked for whatever questions people wanted to ask. I'm going to give folks shout outs. So look forward to that. I'll usually try and prompt you. And I kind of like to have that sort of activity on the community tab. And I actually look at the community tabs for people that I'm subscribed to. So anyway, we do have a few questions that we'll get to. We have Jaron on, what's up? And Alwayne is as well. So Jaron is one of our kind moderators. Gaz is on. And if you do have questions, feel free to ask in the chat. Occasionally we will have like moderators like Jaron. Thanks for doing that. Keeping order over there. So that's good. And I haven't been doing as many live streams. So I think like the normal crew that was doing a lot of the moderating for me, they're out of the habit. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some of the questions here. And the first one, now, if you want to submit a question in the future, like I said, I'm probably going to use the community tab for my channel. And I think depending on how you're viewing stuff on YouTube, maybe in your subscriptions area, or if you just go to my channel, community, I'll post a little message. I'm not sure how it shows up, to be honest with you. All right. So first question, Mike asked this. Someone actually sent an email yesterday and just happened to catch me right at the right time. So they asked about blog commenting, which I'm a proponent of. So blog commenting, Mike commented on a couple blogs, and then he saw a bunch of like 4,000 links coming from like one site, and he panicked. He's pretty new to affiliate marketing, and his site's like 6 weeks old or something like that. So basically, don't worry about it. So Mike was panicked. He was like, big problem, like need your help, all this panic, just too much, right? Like he was over emphasizing the importance. Basically, don't worry about it. So what happened is someone has a blog. Mike went and commented on it. On that person's blog, there is a recent blog comment or a recent comment widget, and then the widget is like in the footer of their site. So every single post on their site, every archive, like every single post has that frequently or that recent hold on one second. Hey Georgie, what are you doing? Come on. Hey, come here. So Georgie's like scratching over there, freaking out. So anyway, basically the widget created that link all over the person's site, and slowly over time it'll go away. The good part is Google is smart enough to figure out that they have like this widget on there, and they basically don't consider all those other 3,000 links. They just consider like one link from that domain. They see it's the same one over and over again. So basically you don't have to do anything. You don't have to disavow it. You don't have to like panic or do anything. Over time, those are going to go away. All right. Next, we have Hassan sent in a question here live in the chat. So thanks for asking. My website has been hit by an algorithm penalty. You have 11 well-written articles, including guides, but all of a sudden your keywords are now 50 or 60th position. Tell me what to do to get my site back on track. I have already disavowed all the spammy links, like 30 to 40, and you have 11 You have 11 Amazon niches. Traffic went to 400 per day to 70. Okay. So there's a couple things in play here. Number one, tell me how old your site is. If your site is very young, which you only have 11 articles, is best I could tell. If you only have 11 articles, then maybe your site's young. Maybe it's kind of going in like the Google dance period, and that could be normal. However, if you were getting 400 visitors a day and now it's down to 70, then you need to. Here's the deal. I can't answer your question. I can tell you like 5 different things to look at. Okay, so your site's 13 or 14 months old. Okay, so I would look at the content and look at the quality of the content and make sure it's up to par. And then I would look at the backlinks and make sure that's okay. There's been a lot more conversation about having like a more credible site with a strong persona, external references, and that sort of thing. So just make sure you have that stuff tight. And then the other thing is, I'm not sure, right? It's really hard to give. It's like getting a diagnosis from a doctor by calling into a radio show. There's only so much that they can like figure out. The other thing I would say potentially, right, add more content. So if you only have 11 well-written pieces, then I would maybe add more. So maybe it's off a little bit. Maybe you have a lot more content in that than that. But if you only have 11 pieces, then maybe I would add more. Simon's on. What's up? Good to see you. Okay. Another question sent in. Edgar asked, how do you go about making your website a business quote on paper in order to do your taxes correctly with income coming in? So first, I'm not an accountant. I'm not 100% sure. But what I recommend is just consider it a side income and just file your taxes. Normally, I'm only speaking about people in the US. And then if you're making like less than your day job, then I probably wouldn't worry about like forming a company or anything like that. If you want to form a company, that is fine. You can do whatever you have to do in your state or municipality or whatever. And then you can file for an EIN, again, assuming the US, file for a tax number, and then go from there. It's pretty straightforward, and there's a lot of moving pieces, but it's like you form a company, you get a tax number. It's mainly about taxes, and then that's it. That's all you got to do. All right. Gaz says you had a nightmare this week. HostGator suspended your site due to server overload. Alex has been a help and thinks it's WooZone cron job placing demand. Ever heard of this? Nope. And Alex is the right person to ask. He's definitely more on the web side. I've never used WooZone in my life. I think it's kind of a waste. Alex and I actually did a video on that where we debated and went back and forth. It's kind of the focus one out there. But that makes sense if it's a cron job running all the time. So Duke's on. What's up? Another fine moderator. Tammy is mentioning you have to have more of an investigation to figure out a problem and find a solution. Yep. Yeah, totally. So really hard to diagnose things this way. Before we go too deep, I want to point out a couple links in the description. So number one, frequently asked questions. So it turns out a lot of people have exactly the same questions that you may have. We'll answer them here because that's what this session is here for specifically. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We're getting real close to 10,000, and that would be awesome. And if I answer your question, give a thumbs up, like the video, and all that good stuff. So frequently asked questions, link in the description. Even if you maybe you don't have questions, it's a good read and it'll help you think about this whole affiliate marketing world. Maybe not differently, but it'll introduce some new ideas, maybe questions that you haven't gotten to. In fact, soon I'm going to be writing more on the link building portion of this whole thing. So the other thing I want to point out is Five Figure Niche Site. That's my premium course, and that is open for enrollment this week. In fact, it closes later on today. So in about like 14 hours, it'll close. You can, I think there's a link in the description. I think I put that in there, but you could check it out if you're interested in getting like a framework of how to build a site, and at the very beginning, like finding keywords, just a whole approach. Further, the other thing I'll point out is the podcast that I do with my wife called Survive the 9 to 5. There's about 10 episodes out there, and I haven't mentioned it too much here recently, but I think it's pretty good. We're getting a little bit better, and we tried to create like helpful topics for people that do have corporate jobs. That's my background, even though I don't have a corporate job right now. So in summary, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I do really appreciate it. If you're interested in taking the course, that's awesome. No pressure, but if you're interested in getting like the framework and getting good support from me and my team, which is one other person, check out Five Figure Niche Site and check out my wife's podcast with me. I think it's good. We're getting better. We think we're really funny, but I don't know how funny we really are. All right. Tube Light, what's up? Rosie Rand says, if a site makes $100 per month in the first 5 months, is it a good thing to think it'll be very successful one day? Yeah, that's a great thing to think. It all depends on the work that you put in. Basically, like everything else in life ever, like the more work you put in, the better. But you can hit $100, and then if you make mistakes along the way, or maybe you lift your foot off the gas, then it may not turn out as well. But that's a great start. Okay, Marcus is on. O2 says, do you only do review posts with affiliate links? No, I don't. I recommend about 50% informational and 50% like product review. That is a frequently asked question, and that's actually one of the early ones in that list. Echo says, do I think blog commenting is useful? I do. I think it's a great way to look at networking. A recent video live stream that I did maybe a week or so ago, I did talk a lot about blog commenting. Now, quick question. Who out there has done guest posting? Just let me know in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, leave a comment, just like your experience with guest posting. Just curious. A lot of time, I mean, that's the way I recommend people get backlinks in general. I know some people say, don't worry about that. Don't worry about links. They'll come naturally. But in my experience, from a marketing perspective, and this definitely is applicable to Amazon affiliate sites, no one cares about your site, right? No one's like, very few people are going to like actively like find your site and link to it because they think it's cool. I mean, that's just reality. Now, it does happen over time. Once your site's established, maybe you're ranking for some like really long tail stuff and you're the only reference out there, you can get some links like that. And that's great. But generally, you have to go out there and like tell people about it. Like if you start a podcast, like it's not likely that people are just going to accidentally find it. You have to go actively and tell people about it. Same way with your affiliate site. You have to guest post. You kind of got to get out there and do some networking versus just people magically finding it. It can happen, but so let me know about your guest posting experience. All right. Paul says you can't wait for Christmas to start. Indeed. Rosie says you wish you could afford your course, maybe soon. Cool. All right. Russ says, can you please show how to find keywords without paid tools? Is it real to start affiliate without much money? Okay. So number one, Russ, you're in luck. I literally have a video on finding keywords with free tools. It's in the Keyword Golden Ratio Masterclass, which there's a link in the description. So check that out. There's a tool called Keywords Everywhere, and you could use that. And I go through a full demo. If you could, afford a tool like Ahrefs, like in a few months, it may be good to pay for it, get some information, and then you can cancel it when you're done. But you don't have to. Now, how much does it cost to get started? I think I have a video on that. I recently, very recently, I think in the last couple of days, did a live stream on it. So maybe you check that out, Russ. But the short answer is you can start with a small amount of money, but I would say you probably need at least about $150 to get started, pay for hosting, maybe a theme, maybe a couple articles. And then after that, you can invest more in the future. But with $150, that'll get you going for at least a few months there. All right. Next, we have Simon asking about YouTube video reviews out competing niche sites. Some people say they convert better and will be the future. I don't think it depends. I could tell you that, let's say I'm in a store and I am looking for information on a particular product that I maybe want to buy there. Maybe I'll order it on Amazon. I'd rather read through the content versus watch the video. So I think YouTube video reviews can be really helpful, but sometimes a person doesn't want to consume the content with the video, and it's easier for them to, use, words to read it because they can go through it faster. So Simon, I'm not sure, and I don't know. In my experience, I don't know if the videos convert better. I don't have enough experience, rather. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't have enough experience, but I could tell you that sometimes I'll watch a video review and then I will sometime later in the future go buy that product on Amazon. But it's not often when I follow the link on YouTube. Now, you can make a full-time living from video reviews, and I've heard some, case studies out there where someone has a channel, they're making great money on their Amazon affiliate reviews, but it's not trivial to do video. So I'll say that. All right, Wes, cool, good to see you. So Duke is giving a little update there, and Duke, maybe we have you back on the channel for an update. All right, MD says, what link building techniques do I prefer? Guest posting. And Duke says you've done some guest posting, acquiring some in quotes, you say. Owen says, to be honest, you bought all your guest posts. Okay, cool. And then Gaz says, can a great KGR combination be useful when used in a domain name? So I don't have any experience with that, but maybe that can be useful. I think if you do that, you've painted yourself in the corner. But if you want to test it or something, then perhaps that could be interesting. Marcus recently did 5 guest posts in one campaign. It took a massive amount of work, and you learned a lot, and you're sure it'll be better the next time. Yep. And I know what you mean, Duke, there. All right. Let's see. All right. Thanks, Duke, for hopping in there with the moderation. Appreciate it. Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to delete this message here. So stress manage. I don't do reviews like you're suggesting, but the other part is, I don't want anyone to have their site exposed here. So, but the main thing is I'm not doing free reviews for people or anything like that. Okay. Cool. So a couple of the other questions that were sent in, and by the way, if you're just joining up, thanks. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then have a look around. If you like it, please subscribe. Next, Dan Dan says, I'm receiving 1 to 2 visits a day at the moment. I know it takes time, but with consistency, do you see that traffic all of a sudden shoots up as soon as Google starts to acknowledge your page, or is this a slow burn that I can expect? Okay, so in general, just the probably most realistic answer is a slow burn. It's probably going to be gradual. The thing is, if you in let's say 7 months, right? In 7 months, you could probably look at your traffic and you'll see that right after the 6 month period, like there's a little bit more growth. Now, for some sites, it may be like the quote hockey stick growth, but for most sites, it's not hockey stick growth. It's gradual. Now, sometime in the future, and I've seen this on some of my sites, some sites that I've worked with some students on, or just other sites that I've been investigating, you may see, they're going along with like some moderate growth, and then all of a sudden something happens, I don't know what, and then they may have like more growth, and it may be 4 years in. In fact, I was talking to a mastermind group earlier this morning, and they said there was an observation that a competitor site was going along 3 to 4 years and then some huge growth at the beginning of this year. No specific reason for it, no huge amount of content added. There wasn't a big like campaign for backlinks. It was just some accumulation or something that really made their traffic go up. So the realistic way to look at it is probably gradual growth. Sometimes you see like extra growth, and it's hard to explain why. But a lot of times with an early site, after 6 months, you'll see like more growth at a faster pace. So I've seen that a lot, and I've heard it from a lot of people. Sometimes it's faster too. Usually it's 6 months, but sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 7. And I think there's some randomness associated with that. Patriot Newsflash says my site is 6 weeks old and the position, and most posts are in positions 20 to 70. Will they creep up over the next 6 months? Potentially, there's a good chance of that, and I have seen like posts slowly improve over 4, 6, 12 months, and just slowly like gets better. So it's helpful if you get links to your site, and it is also helpful if you continue adding content. And again, if you do a ton of work in the first 6 months, that growth after the 6 month period is going to be even bigger than if you do 2 months of work and then stop and don't do anything, and then 6 months passes, you may have a little bit of growth. If you put in more and more work, you may see a lot of growth after that. All right. And let's see. Sorry, folks, here. I'm not sure what to do. All right. All right. So Duke is saying you're going to hit 2K in sales this month. Congrats. That's really cool. Yeah. So maybe we should do an update. Next, stress managed, won't take the hint. So try not to mention niches, because even if you don't care, like other people may have sites out there. And ironically, Jaron is saying after Income School posted their soundproof expert case study, a bunch of people made copycat sites, which we see all the time, right? Tons of copycat sites. All right, Stress Manage says it only has $10. Your website only has $10, and I am earning up to $197 per month. How many more articles should I add? As many as you can is what I would do. All right, Tammy's out of here. See you later. Bad internet. Duke says that you got Google irritated. You got irritated at Google that you got dinged, so you started diversifying traffic with Pinterest and grew Pinterest traffic from less than 10 per week to over 200 per week. Cool. Does that convert well? And hi is on. Okay, any other questions out there? Looks like we have a decent crew here, but not a ton of questions. couple cool things going on. Like I mentioned, we do have a 5-figure niche site open for enrollment this week. It closes later on today. I do these enrollment periods, which I think I may start doing less of them because of just other marketing things that I'm doing. We didn't have as many people mention guest posting, but one thing that I recently started working on was rolling out a service, a guest posting service. I used to have one a few years ago and then got out of it. At this point, there were just so many people asking like, oh, I need to get links. What guest posting service do you recommend? And I didn't have one to recommend. And I just kept saying, I don't have one to recommend. So over time, I was like, you know what, maybe I should just do this thing. So rolled out a small pilot. I'm still working on that stuff. So the thing is with this guest posting service, it's manual and it takes a while. It takes weeks, right? It takes 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer, because the reality is sometimes you got to work with a content schedule for a blogger that you're just working with and networking with. So you kind of have to, you're at the mercy of their schedule. But that is something that's out there, and if you're interested, that is something I didn't put a link for. But if you go to Niche Site Project and search for like guest posting service. I think maybe I've added a link now in these like sort of services or resources section, but that is something that once I get the first pilot group of 5 customers through, then I'll probably open it up on a wider scale. Now the other part, that the reality is like the delivery time over the holiday period may be even longer because people take vacation time, so it's a little harder to get in touch with people, and sometimes their content schedule is even more difficult to work with. All right. So a couple things chattering going on here. All right, Echo says, last Thursday you had 189 monthly viewers. Now you're at 220, so the KGR is working. Great, good job. Good job publishing there. Okay. And Duke is mentioning you don't have a definite, I don't have definite stats on conversions with Pinterest. However, since starting your Pinterest strategy, your Amazon conversion rate has increased by 2%, which sounds crazy. I never would have thought that. I would have expected it to go down. But what do I know? I don't do anything with Pinterest. So, okay. And like I mentioned, if you have questions, be sure to type them in there. I'll try and freestyle here a bit since we don't see quite as many, but it's cool we have the conversation going there. So the KGR method is addictive, says Gaz. You love messing around with keyword combos and trying to reach the magic number. Very cool. Mega Hawk Eagle says, how do you keep motivated to write articles, and how many articles would you normally write in a week? So I don't write anything myself at this point because I outsource it. And if you're interested in some of that stuff, you can get all the templates that I use to hire people. But to answer your question, how do you keep motivated to, I'll just say to work with the writers? Because sometimes like that's no walk in the park either, right? That's just as frustrating as writing. But at least it goes a little faster. So basically, you got to keep in mind your goal of what you're trying to do and remember that. Now, sometimes your motivation is going to waver, and sometimes you just need to take a break. So as far as how many articles would I normally write in a week, I would say if you're doing, it depends on the length of the content, but let's just make an assumption that it's 2,000 words. I would probably, if it's a 2,000 word post, I would probably only write like maybe 3 per week, something like that, just because of, the pace of my writing. So that's just me. As far as like, if you have the budget to hire people, then, basically you could publish as many articles as you possibly can. Like your budget is the budget is like the limiting factor. So, All right. O2 is on. And then Raul says the KJR is awesome. You got 2 sales on a 1-month-old site. That's cool. Awesome job. And Marcus is encouraging Mega Hawk Eagle to keep publishing. You usually get 1 to 2 per week, sometimes more. Okay. And Duke is mentioning the conversion stats are correlated, but not necessarily due to causation. So you've seen bumps from Google after starting, so it might be higher in the SERPs, which would cause more buyers to convert as well. Yep, and I've accidentally had a few posts go viral on Pinterest, and I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think part of like a rankings increase was due to, a lot of traffic coming over from Pinterest. All right. And we also see, okay, Rahul says, most of your blog comments are no follow. Can it hurt the link, profile, and site? No, it shouldn't. Lance is on. How's it going? Wrestling Empire as well. And let's see if there were any other questions that I just didn't see. Oh, I remember one. So someone asked in one of the comments recently if they could hire like other influential like authorities in their niche to write for their site. So this person has a budget, and like the idea is maybe you can get them to share some of their written content on your blog to get like social shares. And the answer is yeah, you could do that. If you have the budget, then for sure, there's no reason not to. And that is a totally fine thing to do. And I think it's smart to not just hire any person, but to hire an authority who has an audience, which they could share the work that they're doing on your site with their audience. So that's great. And if you could figure out how to get like, podcasters or, just other audiences, that's a great way to do it. All right. Someone is having trouble uploading your question. Basically, if you're trying to put in a URL or anything like that, it probably won't let you. So don't put a link in there. Don't mention your site. Don't mention your niche. Don't mention keywords or anything like that. Okay, so Raul says, can do we need blog comments in other high DA sites, or ought to do it in our niche only? I would say, here's the way I think about it. You can think about your audience and the sort of, person that may read your content. So I would say any other like site or content that person would be interested in is like fair game. So I would say don't just focus on your niche. In fact, I would say, avoid your competitors, right? Don't do that, because you're basically going to end up wasting your time, because your competitors are probably not going to approve your comments. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people are talking about writing and, writing slow, and you'll get faster at writing the more you do it. And some posts are going to go faster than others, but yeah, writing is slow, especially, a lot of us didn't do a lot of writing, at least not in like recent years. So it's something you have to practice and work on to get better, get faster, and all that stuff. So let's see what else is going on. I've been doing a few things for some of my sites where basically I'm just going and improving content, cleaning things up, updating things, and it takes time. It's actually, I've found it to be challenging to get writers to do a good job. It's often more expensive on a per word basis, is what I'm finding, to go back and improve content, edit it, and then maybe add some. It's potentially a little more work, because they have to fit in. Let's say you're adding 1,000 words, they have to make sure it fits in to the context of the existing article versus like just writing something from scratch. Okay, O2 says on a website, KW Finder, if you find a keyword with green mark on it, then can I just use that? Is the KGR the same thing? So the KGR is not the same thing. There's a link in the description for the Keyword Golden Ratio Masterclass, so I encourage you to take a look at that. For KW Finder, I've never used it, so I can't answer that question. However, my thought is it's probably, a quote lower competition keyword, and potentially you could use that, but I wouldn't blindly follow the tools. I wouldn't blindly follow the keyword golden ratio either, right? So use your own judgment. So if you think it's a good idea, then sure, go for it. If not, then yeah. All right. And then NEA has a pretty much a racist comment here. So you may want to, why don't you rephrase that in a more respectful way? All right. A lot of blog commenting is so lame. And I mean, I think if it's a good comment, approve it. But what I see a lot of times, here's what you don't want to do. And I saw this on my blog niche site project. Basically, it was like someone threw a link into the description there. And then also they and then to the description to the comment body, so they threw a link in there, and then their website was like it wasn't just the domain name, it was like the full URL, clearly spam. So don't do anything like that. But if you can leave like a legit comment, because there is so much garbage out there, if you leave a legit comment, they will like probably remember you. Yeah. Duke says the KW Finder difficulty rating seems to be okay. He found it to be like 50% successful. And I think for all the difficulty ratings, like you're going to find some keywords that are awesome that follow along, and then you'll see some where it's sort of out of whack. So it's a good, probably most of the keyword difficulty metrics out there are slightly useful to prioritize. Sometimes you're going to accidentally throw out good keywords, and other times you're probably going to work on keywords that aren't that great, but the metrics say they are. So, and it's tough to figure those out sometimes. And Stephen B is on. Good to have you as well. All right. I didn't prepare as much to talk about just random stuff today. So Mark says, having issues finding good keywords for pro audio terms. You know the niche well. Any suggestions? Thanks again. So Mark, I think what I would potentially do, there's a couple good ways if you're sort of stuck. So if you go to like Answer the Public, that's a good place to just like see a bunch of questions out there. If for pro audio, I think it could be interesting to look at like magazines, like go down to a bookstore or whatever, like look at the magazines for pro audio. Maybe you'll get some ideas for like obscure products. Further, and this applies to anything, any niche, if you could find like versus keywords, those are going to be really good. Those are great buyers keywords because it's someone kind of far down on the research spectrum. So like product A versus product B, or maybe it's within a product line where someone's comparing like the new model and the old model, and they know they want to buy one, but they don't know which one, and they want to see how those are compared. So I think if you look at those, that's a great way to handle it. The other way is to use a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs. Look at other sites that have a lot of other content related to whatever your niche is, and then you can sort, filter, figure out like what other keywords you could approach based on what they're ranking for, intentionally or unintentionally. Okay, Hawk Eagle says, is a keyword with 10 searches a month worth writing a post over? Yes. And it is worth it. You can look at the FAQ section on Niche Site Project, link in the description, and you'll see that that's what I call a permission question. Now, the thing is, you're probably the common beginner um, knowledge, the common knowledge on something with 10 searches a month, you may think, well, only 10 people search for that per month. So even if you rank number one, you're only going to get 10 visitors per month to that post. However, that's an incorrect assumption because there are many more people searching for similar terms that are like long tails, like very specific that you may rank for. So even if it says 10 searches per month, there are other people searching for similar topics that maybe they're not even listed as getting any searches per month. So if you do rank for it, most likely you're going to get a lot more traffic than just 10 visitors per month. So yeah, potentially it is worthwhile to do it and publish 1,000 words, 2,000 words, whatever it takes. Gaz says, niche income hobby seems to be gaining in popularity. Do you think there's still room for everyone in the future, or will it get more difficult? Guys, this is another one of those common questions. Basically, at any given time for almost anything, someone's going to say, hey, it looks saturated. It looks too big to get in. In 2009, I thought, hey, I'm going to start a podcast about beer. At the time is what I was thinking. But I was like, there's already like 2 or 3 beer podcasts. Why should I even get started? Turns out that would have been really smart to do in 2009. The beer area has grown quite a bit. There's like dozens of beer podcasts out there. And I could have been doing it for like 11 or 10 years, something like that at this point. So will it get harder and more difficult? Probably. Is there still room for everyone in the future? There's room for a lot of people, and things work themselves out in that, like, people that work on it and work hard and try and learn, then they'll be in good shape. Okay, and folks, I gotta say, the audience here is a bunch of other marketers, right? So I would say don't mention your niche, like I think Mark, maybe you did, and then Nude, you were giving out some ideas. Take this stuff offline into a private conversation. Like, what you don't want to do is tell everyone your stuff that you're working on. So I would just say try and keep stuff a little closer to your chest. If the audience is like these several hundred people, you should probably not tell everyone. Just my advice. Wrestling Empire, if you write a product name on your article, is that against the terms of service? If you write a product name on your article, I don't think so. And Wrestling Empire says, you heard Income School talk about it. I recommend you email Jim and Ricky, ask them what they were talking about. I don't know the context of that. I don't think it is against the rules to use the name of a product. I think that is okay. Alexander says, do I recommend a plugin for making review charts and stuff for Amazon products? No, I don't like plugins. I usually, if I can do something without using a plugin, I will try to. So if you follow the link in the description, I give you some options. I like to actually use a HTML table generator and create tables manually. For me, it's actually faster than using the garbage tools that are out there for tables and other stuff. However, some people like to use those plugins and they love them, right? So if you go to the FAQ section, I think I do have some recommendations for different products there. O2 says, is siloing and sitemap the same thing? No. It is not the same thing. Can I explain the silo thing? You did, I did about it on your blog, but I'm not so clear on it. So I'm not going to go into it because I wrote a whole blog post on it. So O2, go read that. Basically, the main takeaway that I would want you to have is that you should interlink your site really well. I wouldn't worry about doing a silo or any sort of formal architecture on your site. If you want to, you can, but I don't think it's a good use of your time. And just go read that post, and that, I mean, me explaining it here will be disjointed and won't make sense. The diagrams are very helpful on that post. Duke says, using Answer the Public is interesting. Used it to find topics for different product categories. You didn't worry about difficulty or KGR or search volume. You just needed relevant content, and you're ranking for a lot of questions and getting traffic. Very cool. Just in Duke, so you're saying you just have a lot of like questions listed, and you're ranking for those. Do I have that right? Okay, Lance says, have I seen non-relevant posts hurt other niche post rankings? You think your seasonal posts are hurting your original post and you're moving on seasonal post to a new website? I haven't seen that specifically, but yeah, I haven't seen it specifically or heard anything about it. I think it depends, right? So for example, on Niche Site Project, I usually write about affiliate marketing or something about SEO. However, I also write about productivity. And there are some blogs where there's like a whole lot of different stuff. So Smart Passive Income could be a good example. Affiliate marketing, business ideas. There's a whole podcast section. There's content related to marketing, but there's different pockets. And there's a lot of stuff on there, basically. So I think it can be okay to have different topics. It is a natural thing. People have multiple interests, so it's not unusual for someone to have interest in several areas, and maybe they put it on a blog. Would it be better to have everything about the same exact thing? Maybe, but I don't think it's hugely out of place. Now, Lance, I'm not sure, but maybe if you publish some other content related to the original niche as well, to have sort of more related content, that could be a good thing to help bolster those. Hawk says, you're not even close, but just out of interest, do I think a site is ever done when it comes to new articles? Yeah, I think it depends on the scope of what you're trying to do. You can continually add hundreds of articles every year, and it could be fine. But at some point you can say, well, you know what? I don't want to grow it anymore. I think I just want to go back and improve what I have, and I don't have an interest in growing it more. So I think at some point you can. Theo says, when you're affiliated with Amazon, can you be affiliated with other programs? Yes. Nude says you have trouble with HTML table generator. The trouble is it may not be responsive. You created your own. So, I mean, easy fix, right? Use a generator that is responsive. The one that I use, which I think I have a video on it, the one that I use, you could click a little button and then it turns it to responsive and you're good to go. Andy says you look at forums within niches, and you can see discussions to run through the KGR. You can see ideas for what people are asking. Yes, great idea. Forums. And if you use a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs, if you just see what forums are ranking for, you can get a good idea for like long tail keywords that you could potentially outrank by, answering it better. Theo says, do I know any services that can take care of link building? So this is precisely the sort of question that I would see all the time. And yes, so I have a pilot posting service. If you go to that link that I typed into the chat there, you can get information And it says it's full right now, but if since it's it's just us, small crew just chatting here. If you go and click the button, I forget what the button says. I think it's like, I'll just scroll down and tell you. Get started. If you click any of the get started buttons, it'll send you over to a Google form, which if you fill it out, I'll put you on the list for when I run this again, probably in the next couple weeks here. So that is a service that I would recommend. Amaze says, how to write Amazon reviews. I mean, when we have not bought the product and have no idea about the pros and cons, still some people write reviews without having the product. So the answer to that, luckily, I have a video on that. So if you just search in YouTube for how to write a review without the product, I literally published it like in the last couple weeks here. And basically, the answer is you read about it. So you read the product description, you read the reviews by owners, probably on Amazon. Go read the manufacturer's website, read the instruction manual, tons of information in the instruction manual. Basically, all instruction manuals are like freely downloadable at this point for almost all products. And you can just download it, read it, and then you have a pretty good idea about the features of the product. They'll have a troubleshooting section. And then if you go read the reviews, you can understand like what actual owners thought of the product. So pretty straightforward. Marcus says, are August, September, and October slow months? Yes. In my observation, September and October are like some of the lower months that you may see. And Nude says, do I know Joe Satriani? Yeah, I am familiar with the guitar player, and I think it's just the baldness, most likely. Okay. Questions are coming through. Pretty solid. Keep them coming. And if you haven't given a like, it looks like I don't know how many we have here, but if you haven't given a thumbs up, it'd be awesome if you did. Would really appreciate that. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, it would be good. I think most people are subscribed, but if you're not, please subscribe. I think probably in the next few days, we'll hit 10,000, which is exciting. Okay. Goss says, is having a blog site with long informative articles and no affiliate contents, but with advertising only another way forward or not a good idea? Yeah, that's fine. You could do that if you want. That is just fine. Rajesh says, which outsourcing site do I recommend for content? I use Upwork. All right. Any other questions out there? Oh, thanks for the likes. I see quite a few just popped in here. That's great. And little reminder, I'll just hit some announcements again. So check out my podcast that I do with my wife. I think there's about 10 episodes out there already. And I'll probably, what I'll do is I may start doing like little snippets and give like teaser videos to get people over. Or let me know, would people rather me just upload the audio to YouTube because you're on YouTube all the time? I mean, that's the format that you guys are into here, obviously. And then just put up like a screenshot and just like have the audio out there. That'd be a pretty straightforward thing, and just put it on this channel. The other thing is my premium course, 5-Figure Niche Site, open for enrollment till the end of the day today. So if you're interested in getting like the framework of creating a site, start to finish, there's advanced units in there. So basically, you can skip a lot of the questions, right? Like I walk you through on when to do what, and it makes it so much easier. Okay. Nude says, do I have a link to the podcast? Yes, it's in the description. I do have a podcast. It is called Survive the 9 to 5, and it is generally about corporate life. My wife has a corporate job. I do not. So we can, but I had one for a while. So we go back and forth on just ideas and stuff about working. So if you're interested, if you like hearing me talk, we talk on there. So we haven't gotten to affiliate marketing much at all. I think I may have like an episode or two where I just talk about what I do. Okay, O2 says someone on YouTube said, gotta love that. When you use KGR, you'll have to initially upload more and more posts in order to reach more visitors. Okay, that is just a statement. So I don't know what you want me to do with that. Oh, and Duke says October, October being slow is good for him because October has been the best so far. So you're looking forward to the hot months. Yeah. So it's interesting because when I first got started, I think one of my early sites I started in like July, and then this was a few years back. So I started in July of that year, and there was growth, like exponential growth, between like August, September, and October, all the way to December. And it was just like such growth just because the site was getting started at that time. So it was pretty interesting to observe that, right? So it was pretty cool. Of course, the next year it was off because like there was a lot of growth, and then it's hard to see what's happening, especially if you're like constantly adding content. There should be some steady growth happening when you do that. However, some months are slower than others, so it's hard to understand the revenue growth or decline or seasonal impacts when you're just slowly growing, which is better than like declining, but it's just hard to tell. So yeah, Duke is probably going to blow up over the holidays. Gus says, do I have a preferred WordPress theme? Okay, so a couple questions about themes here. I've been recommending Rehub a lot recently. A lot of people told me that they were using it that are in my course, and it looks great. The main thing that pushed me over was Rehub is recommended and mentioned by Amazon associates in some of the documentation for the program. So I checked it out, and I'm actually using it right now on a new site. So it's pretty straightforward. There's some cool features. And if you go to the FAQ page on Niche Site Project, there's a link in the description. I have like a more detailed answer about choosing a theme. In a lot of cases, I just tell people to like use a theme that you already have. Like usually that's the best option. Use a theme you already have. And, in my opinion, the theme doesn't matter too much. It's more about everything else you're doing. But other people think the theme is really important, and they spend a lot of time on what the site looks like and all that stuff. I do not. I don't. Not my thing. So, all right. And Duke has he's one of the people that mentioned using Rehub. So Rehub is a solid one. And I think we're going to come towards the end. We're starting to get some repeat questions. That's always a sign to me that we need to get out of here. All right. So O2 says, do you need any plugins to do Amazon affiliate? No, you don't need one. You can use plugins, but generally you don't have to have one. There's some out there. There's AAWP. It's a good plugin. You have Pro Associate, another good plugin, and then a new one coming out. My friend over at Dumb Passive Income, Matt Allen, is sort of heading that up, and that one is called I think it's like AmaLinks Pro. And it's sort of rolling out of beta, and you'll probably be hearing more about it. I'll probably do a demo of it in a few weeks. I think they're working on some like table functionality. So any other questions? Don't forget, if you are sort of new and you want to do some reading after we finish up here, check out the link in the description, the FAQ link that I keep mentioning over and over again. There's just a lot of good stuff in there. And if you need I guess, more backlinks, check out the link that I put in the chat here. It's like the guest posting service over at Niche Site Project, and feel free to fill out one of the forms there, and I'll get you into the next set of customers that I'm working with. So, all right, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you later. And hopefully next week we'll hit the 10,000, and then we'll be at that arbitrary mark where I don't know what we do then, but we'll be there soon. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.